providing Iran with a major cash injection. The decision raising alarms in Jerusalem, where officials warn that the funds will be used to rearm the Iranian military. Now, ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the latest.
Speaking to reporters before boarding Air Force Two, Vice President Vance revealed that both sides have left negotiating teams behind to continue working on the details of an interim agreement.
We left a lot of our team, the Iranians left a lot of their team at the resort there to keep on working at it. So all in all, a very productive 36 hours. We're going to have to keep working it. The last point that I'll make is, as I told you all this morning, this is laying a foundation for what could be a truly transformed Middle East. But we haven't built the house yet. We're going to have to keep on building, and that's what we'll do.
The United States has made its most significant concession toward Iran, temporarily easing oil sanctions. The move raised fresh concerns about what Tehran may receive before its nuclear ambitions are curbed. Asked about whether Iran could profit from oil sales to rebuild its military, President Trump said this.
Lifted sanctions on Iranian oil today.
Well, I'm going to have to find out exactly the status, but if the sanctions go out, money's going to be put into this country. All that money's coming back in the form of purchases of food, which they desperately need. They have 91 million people. They can't feed them. So the money that we lift is going to go to our farmers, largely to our farmers.
Profits from oil sales to rebuild their military.
Well, they're not supposed to be doing that, so we'll see. But they're supposed to use money to buy food for their people, because right now their people are very hungry. And they're buying it exclusively from us. Corn, soybeans. Should be a lot of money. I hope it's a lot of money.
Critics warn that easing sanctions and allowing Iran's oil revenues to flow before a final agreement is signed risks surrendering critical leverage to a regime that spent decades funding terror proxies across the region. Trump insisted that the war with Iran was a great success and that Iran has been prevented from having a nuclear weapon.
It's the one-year anniversary of Operation Midnight Hammer. If you could go back in time, is there anything you would do different?
No.
Nothing at
all? It was the most successful attack that anyone's ever seen with a bomber that totally wiped out their nuclear potential. If we didn't do that, you'd have no Israel right now. Israel would not exist, and most of the Middle East would not exist. They were 2 weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. If we wouldn't have done that, Pete, they would have had a nuclear weapon.
In Israel, the view of the diplomatic progress is being tempered by deep reservations, while the Trump administration insists Iran's nuclear program has been set back and peace is within reach. Many here note that some of the war's central objectives have yet to be fully achieved. For Israelis who have learned the cost of wishful thinking, the real test will not be the promises made in Switzerland, but whether Iran is actually prevented from rebuilding its military capabilities, rearming its proxies, and ever obtaining a nuclear weapon.
But Israel's leadership is sending a clear message tonight. The IDF will continue to act against any threat on the northern front. That's regardless of any diplomatic pressures. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu defined Israel's red lines, while President Trump insisted that the Israeli premier will do as he says. But here's more in the report.
Following high-level security consultations, Prime Minister Netanyahu, Defense Minister Katz, and IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir issued a joint declaration that Israel will continue to neutralize threats, destroy terror infrastructure, and maintain its security zone in southern Lebanon.
ההנחיה שלי ושל שר הביטחון לצה"ל היא ברורה והיא לא השתנתה. ללוחמים שלנו בדרום לבנון יש חופש פעולה מלא לסכל כל איום ישיר ומתהווה עליהם או על תושבי הצפון. אין לצה"ל שום הגבלה בעניין זה. אני עומד מאחוריהם, העם כולו עומד מאחוריהם. ואני עומד איתן על כך שנשאר ברצועת הביטחון בדרום לבנון ככל שידרש כדי להגן על תושבי הצפון ועל כל אזרחי המדינה.
A reporter made Trump aware of Netanyahu's declaration that the IDF would remain in Lebanon. The president insisted the issue will be dealt with.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his forces are not leaving Lebanon. That is a sticking point.
Who did he tell that to you?
He said it publicly in Israel.
Well, we're going to take a look at it.
Well, what would you do to make sure that he doesn't?
Well, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do, but it gets solved. I'm a problem solver. I get problems solved real fast, including with Bibi. Go ahead.
The statements from Netanyahu and Trump come as the United States and Iran work to advance an interim peace agreement that calls for an end to hostilities across the region, including in Lebanon. Meanwhile, direct talks between Israel and Lebanon are set to resume in Washington today, with U.S. officials saying the three-day meetings will open with a joint political and military session aimed at advancing security understandings between the two countries. The Trump administration is seeking to preserve the direct Israel-Lebanon channel it helped to establish, even as parallel negotiations with Iran regarding Lebanon have created questions about which diplomatic track will take priority. For Israel, the message is unmistakable. Diplomacy may shape the headlines, but when it comes to defending the North, Jerusalem insists the IDF, not Tehran, not Washington or Beirut, will have the final word.
And joining us now is Jonathan Schanzer, Executive Director for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Always good to have you with us on any of the programs here, Jonathan. Thanks for the time. I'll jump straight into it. Look, President Trump is arguing already that we have two things, an open strait and a country that will never have a nuclear weapon, in his words. How far away are we from those two things already?
I think we're pretty far away, unfortunately. It certainly looks as if the regime maintains the ability to open and close the strait at will. And it could be that we have an infrastructure that will remain after this agreement is struck that will leave the regime in control. This, of course, comes amidst threats that the president has issued, saying that the U.S. could take it over entirely. But I think that would obviously require a huge military operation, a very heavy lift on the part of the U.S. And then as it relates to the nuclear program, I mean, look, there is no nuclear program to speak of right now. There may be a few isolated scientists and some of the infrastructure amidst the rubble from nuclear sites that have been destroyed. But that's not really the point here. And nor is it the point that we have enriched uranium that is entombed beneath the ground inside the Islamic Republic of Iran that no one can get to, not the Iranians or the United States for that matter. The real question is, what kinds of inspections will there be in the future? And here I think we already see some disagreement between the U.S. side and the Iranian side. The Iranians are saying that there will be no access to destroyed sites. The U.S. saying that there will be access to all the sites. So we've got really big gaps between the Iranians and the United States. It seems to be a lot of chaos right now. I get the sense that the U.S. team is up against it here as they look for wins in Switzerland.
Look, I've got to get your thoughts on Lebanon. I know you have your head in the region here. President Trump has been very critical this week of Israel's war effort in Lebanon, but he seemed to pivot again on the issue after the talks began, issuing threats to Iran for their ongoing support for Hezbollah. Look, the Iranians have appeared to sense the desperation from the White House, the daylight between, the U.S. and Israel around Lebanon campaign. They appear to be holding the Hormuz still hostage until Israel stops fighting Hezbollah. Are they succeeding, in this attempt, this linkage?
Well, I think they certainly succeeded in the early goings by inserting that clause. That clause calling for Israel to stop its war without Israel having been part of the negotiations, without having anything to say about the fact that this war was included, despite the fact that it's 1,000 kilometers plus from the Strait of Hormuz. It seems like a pretty far-flung place. And it was clearly designed to tie the hands of Israel. But I think it was positive to see the president come out and acknowledge something. I mean, first, let's just all realize that the Hezbollah terrorist organization is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They operate upon the direction of the IRGC. Hezbollah, every time it attacks, it is done with weapons and training and direction provided by the Islamic Republic. So when we see attacks like this, and then we see the Israelis respond to that aggression, and then we see the Iranians start to cry foul, saying that it was a violation of the ceasefire, to understand in his tweet over the weekend. Now, the question is, how does that play out in the negotiations? Does J.D. Vance begin to separate out this Hezbollah Israeli battle from the rest of the ceasefire talks and the rest of the MOU? This appears to be a real challenge. I don't know if J.D. Vance is willing to do it, whether he has the intention to do it, but it is clearly not healthy. It is the way in which the Islamic Republic can continue to play with the United States, to continue to manipulate this process. Because if they attack the Israelis, I mean, this is the Israeli doctrine, they of course will respond. And then of course the regime can use that as an excuse to shut down the strait. We are in circular logic here, and it needs to be broken.
Look, we'll get you out of here on this, Jonathan. I want you to speak a little more on from President Trump, Vice President Vance, the rhetoric against Israel. It's been harsh, to say the least. How damaging is it already to Israel and arguably to the entire region, who thought that this alliance, Israel and the U.S., could really out to save them?
Yeah, look, I mean, I have concerns, obviously, about the future of normalization. No country in the Middle East wants to be part of an alliance structure where the United States is throwing an ally under the bus, especially just weeks after they were flying shoulder to shoulder in these operations in Iran. So that's not a good look. I think there's obviously open questions if the United States continues down this path and we're unable to negotiate a good agreement, one that shuts down that nuclear program, one that leaves Lebanon out of this, one that does not issue oil waivers to the Islamic Republic and gives them sanctions relief. If we don't get a handle on these negotiations, it will look as if the United States has lost. If that is the case, then it will be even harder to understand why or how our Persian Gulf allies or other countries around the Levant would want to join the U.S.-led security architecture in the Middle East. So there's a lot more riding on this than just simply U.S.-Israel ties. Certainly, I think the Israelis know that there's not a whole lot of other countries that they can rely upon. So they're going to have to stick with the United States, and I think clearly they want to. I don't think that's really the issue. For me, the concern is farther afield. What does the rest of the Middle East look like if, in fact, these talks continue down the road that they're on? Because right now, it looks like we're on a negative trajectory, and that will not be a solid basis for alliances or for defense structures moving forward in the Middle East.
Jonathan Schanzer, thanks for being with us. Enlightening, as always.
In Israel, everything can change in an instant. So when a crisis hits, Hadassah hospitals move units underground. Maternity wards, cancer units, ICUs, ensuring our life-changing care continues. Soldiers are saved, civilians healed. But more underground facilities are urgently needed. Please visit Hadassah.org and give today. Because we don't know what tomorrow will bring. Hadassah. Life-changing.
Now, on another front, the IDF and Shin Bet say they eliminated another Nukba terrorist. According to the military, Abu Hasna, a member of the elite Hamas Nukba force, was killed in an airstrike carried out late last week in the northern Gaza Strip. IDF says Abu Hasna infiltrated Israel during the October 7th massacre. He was directly involved in the captivity of Omer Shem Tov, who notably gave him a kiss, now referred to as the kiss of death. Now, throughout the war, he was also accused of planting explosive devices and, more recently, attempting to organize terrorist cells to attack Israeli troops operating in the area. In a separate strike in northern Gaza, the Israeli military says 3 armed Hamas terrorists who were advancing attacks against forces there were also eliminated. The IDF saying its forces remain deployed under Southern Command in accordance with all the existing agreements. They will continue operating, though, to remove any threat to soldiers and civilians alike in Israel. Now, a new eye-catching investigation has uncovered many journalists reportedly killed in Gaza by the IDF that were, in fact, terrorists. Now, ILTV's Devo Klein is joining me in the studio here to break down this story, which I would argue, Devo, is coming as a relief, a bit of a validation to a lot of the sentiment and what was sort of being argued here in Israel for a long time. But the international community was in an uproar about journalists being killed in Gaza. Where does this leave us?
Absolutely. It should come as no surprise to anybody that this is coming out. Now, what's interesting about this investigation and what separates this from what we've been seeing until now, to answer your question, is that this time the facts are coming from Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Now, the Times of Israel conducted an investigation. They went through these Telegram groups for the Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. They were posting them in Arabic, these sort of obituaries of their, quote unquote martyrs, and saying, claiming they're one of us. Times of Israel found these. They've cross-referenced them with the list published, obviously, by the Gaza Health Ministry, which we now know to be Hamas, as one of the some of the civilians that have been listed as civilians that have been killed. So this new investigation is really fueling this conversation of, wait, so what are the numbers actually, and who can we trust, and how can we trust?
Look, this was long Israel's position that, and the international understanding here, there was no such thing as free journalism in Gaza. I mean, in a territory controlled by Hamas, or for that matter, Hezbollah in Lebanon, you can't walk in there and report whatever you want. These are people who are embedded, with the local forces here.
Right.
And that was something largely overlooked. I think an interesting point you make about the Arabic, publishing this, that was probably not noticed by many people in the West.
So, David, on that note, I spoke earlier today with the Times of Israel Arab and Palestinian correspondent, Nurit Yohanan, and I asked her, was this a slip-up? Was this a mistake on Hamas's part, or did they do this intentionally? And she didn't know to tell me exactly why or what their motive was. Sure. But what she estimated is that they were doing it intentionally to boost morale, to remind, the Gazans of their martyrs, and to sort of, boost the confidence, considering this very long period where Hamas has essentially been taking a beating. And you're very right to point out the international community, which, by the way, has been very silent now that this report is coming out, sweeping things under the rug as they normally do.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't noticed any reaction to this report, at least but I think we can all remember the torrent of criticism coming towards Israel, very detailed reports by international bodies condemning Israel for the pressure on journalists. An eye-opening story. Deborah Klein, thanks for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
The University of Haifa stands at the forefront of global impact, ranking #1 in Israel, and has been ranked among the top 100 universities worldwide for sustainability. Here, environmental responsibility, social justice, and academic research come together to build a better future.
U Haifa International also has adopted the sustainability perspective, where we take part also in high-impact work that is informed by academic research to ensure that we have a better world to live in.
From marine research in the Mediterranean to community-focused programs shaping peace and equality, students engage directly with the issues that matter.
It's not just a degree, it's an experience, and it opens your mind, your network, and your world.
Study where innovation meets purpose on a campus committed to progress, diversity, and global citizenship. Master your mind, live your Israel experience. Shape a sustainable future at U Haifa International.
Now, Britain's political landscape has been thrust into uncertainty and the headlines following Prime Minister Keir Starmer's resignation. Now, one of the leading contenders to succeed him is a politician well known to Britain's Jewish community, but whose record on Israel has at times sparked debate. Here's a closer look at Andy Burnham. Following Keir Starmer's resignation, Labour MP and former Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham has emerged as a leading candidate to become Britain's next Prime Minister. And when asked about running the country, this is what he said.
I think you're jumping several hurdles ahead there. My priority today is to become sworn in as the Mayor, as the MP for Makerfield, and it's been very kind of sad for me today to leave Greater Manchester. The people have been brilliant to me over the last few years. I've loved every minute of the role. I hope I leave Manchester in a better place, but thanks very much. Thank you.
As Mayor of Manchester, he stood publicly with the city's Jewish community following the anti-Semitic terror attack outside a synagogue on Yom Kippur in 2025, condemning what he called a vile attack and pledging support. He's also been a consistent supporter of Holocaust education and remembrance. When it comes to Israel, Burnham condemned the Hamas October 7th attacks without reservation, in his words, saying nothing could justify the barbaric killing of civilians. Burnham supports a two-state solution, has called Israeli settlements an obstacle to peace, but has also rejected the BDS movement, previously describing it as spiteful. More recently, he declined to label Israel's actions in Gaza as genocide, saying he was not in a position to make such a judgment. If Burnham does become Britain's next prime minister, Israel can expect a leader who's stood firmly against anti-Semitism, but whose approach to the Middle East is likely to balance support for Israel's security with continued support for Palestinian statehood. Now, MedX has returned to North America, bringing its flagship program back to New Jersey, where it all began, serving as a one-stop shop for medical professionals considering Aliyah, moving to Israel. MedX provides the guidance, the resources, direct access to help make the move to Israel a reality. ILTV's Deborah Klein brings us more.
350 medical professionals from across North America gathered in New Jersey for the largest international medics conference to date.
Welcome to the New Jersey Medics. We've been around the globe, jumping from country to country, but it's great to be back where it all started, and this is our largest Medics to date. We have hundreds of medical professionals who are here at a one-stop shop to facilitate, to process, to license, to find their career. It's been incredible to see how hundreds of individuals want to move to Israel, contribute, and build their lives in Eretz Yisrael.
As Israel's healthcare system faces a critical shortage of medical professionals, MedX offers a direct pathway for those considering Aliyah. The event brought together Israeli hospitals, health funds, licensing authorities, and employers all under one roof, with more than 130 medical licensing applications submitted on site.
I want to make Aliyah because I believe it's the homeland for the Jewish people. It's my home, and I want to raise my family there, and I want them to appreciate the beauty and have a love for the land like I do, and I want to build Israel. And I know physician assistants aren't there yet quite. There's a few, but I really want to bring that job to Israel and hopefully watch it expand and grow into building the Israeli healthcare system.
I work all over New York City and take care of all types of people, and it's great. But to take care of my brothers and sisters, and there's a real need for doctors from what I hear, so it's something that I hope I can make a reality.
So MedX has helped me because I came here, and obviously you have all these scrambled documents from all these different years and all these different papers you haven't looked at in years, and I was able to just hand it to them, and they were able to guide me through the process of getting my license as a physician assistant in Israel. And it's one of the first years I think that they're offering the licensing for physician assistants, so I get to be a part of that new step. So it's really fun, and MedX is here. It's so nice to see so many people that I'm familiar with or that are also on the same path as you, making Aliyah, and it's just really invigorating. It strengthens you and excites me to be able to make that move.
I've been planning to make Aliyah for about 3 years, so this is my third time to MedX, just because the PA profession wasn't established yet. So yeah, I'm very excited that it's finally happening. Yeah, I think being one of the first PAs and paving the way for future PAs is going to be really exciting and a challenge to kind of show how valuable PAs can be, and it'd be really meaningful to help pave the way.
MedX is part of the International Medical Aliyah program, which has already helped more than 1,100 physicians from around the world make Aliyah since 2024. And for the hundreds of participants who gathered in New Jersey, the journey to building a life and a career in Israel has officially begun.
Definitely a message to Olim is kind of think about, what's important, your highest values, and to kind of try to keep pushing towards that, because ultimately that's, if you live by your highest values, you'll always find the path that you feel comfortable with and that you're happy with. So I hope that people can dig deep and make it to Israel.
Again, great to have you with us. We begin. U.S. Vice President Vance. He's departed Switzerland following the latest round of talks with Iran, but said negotiations are far from over. Now in Washington, President Trump defended his decision to ease the oil sanctions, providing Iran with a major cash injection. The decision raising alarms in Jerusalem, where officials warn that the funds will be used to rearm the Iranian military. Now, ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the latest.
Speaking to reporters before boarding Air Force Two, Vice President